Hi guys! Happy Sunday, June 9th. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome. My name is Mandy, and you can find me on Instagram or Ravelry as Mandy Vaughn Knits. This is my knitting and crochet podcast where I talk to you about all of the knitting and crafting in general that I've gotten up to throughout the week. I generally have finished objects, I have works in progress, and just other things that might have caught my eye throughout the week. I know that this week I have some patterns to share with you that I found while browsing through Ravelry, so I'm excited to show you guys those. In general, I have quite a bit to show you this week. I also have one fun and exciting thing to share. I have reached 100 subscribers, and if you hang on until the end of the video before I talk about life stuff, I have 2 prize packs that I'm going to be giving away. And maybe I shouldn't have said those words thinking back on it, so I'm just going to say prize packs and hope that I don't trigger any weird bots. We'll go over the rules before we go into what exactly I'm giving away. Anyways, so like I said, I have quite a bit to share this week. I have been very excited because we have a new baby coming in the family. It is the son of my cousin's daughter. So I'm not able to go to the baby shower because unfortunately it is the same time we are going on our vacation coming up at the end of the month. But I bought some things off of the registry, and over the last week or two I've been making baby knits and baby crochet items. So I did finish those. I have 2 sweaters going on currently, and I'm about to put one on hiatus, and we'll get into exactly that. But let's start at the very beginning because otherwise we're all going to be overwhelmed. So I showed you this hat last week, and I just wanted to show you it again because I attached ears. And who doesn't love bear ears? So this hat is the Barley from Tin Can Knits, and I just found an ear pattern for another hat and I can't say that I followed the directions exactly because I did heavily modify them. The ear pattern that I found involved knitting 4 different pieces for each ear. There was no way I was doing that. That's just too much. Because they had 2 colors for the ears, so they wanted you to knit basically 4 of these shapes, 2 smaller to put in the middle on each side. I believe each side, yes, and kind of sew them all up. What I did instead was I took their direction for one of the bear ear shapes, and I started it, I followed it all the way to almost the end of I followed it up until the part where you were supposed to bind off, and then I started increasing again to make the shape on the other side, the mirror opposite, so I could fold the ear and sew it on, because that sounds a lot better than me trying to sew 4 little pieces together. It wasn't going to turn out well. So anyways, this is the Barley hat, and I think it's super cute. The yarn that I used here was Comfy Cotton Blend from Lion Brand. So I believe it's 50% cotton and 50% polyester, and if it isn't, I'll put it down below. The colorway was Chai Latte, and I had this in my stash, and I thought that it would make a pretty good neutral baby color. So, also, since I'm pretty obsessed, in love. I love making star blankets for all of the people. My daughter has so many of them, and every time there's a baby, they need a star blanket. So I took that same yarn and I made this crochet star blanket, and it's going to be very hard to show because it's very soft and it's not gonna stick upright, but I will put in a picture up here of it laying flat so you can kind of get the idea of the shape in general. This has been one of my favorite items to make for my kids ever since they were, let's see, they're 9 and 13 right now. I would say probably like 2 or 3. We'll go with that. And my daughter especially still grabs these out all the time to snuggle up with them. Now, this blanket, let's see. This right here took just a little tiny bit of the skein of the Comfy Cotton blend. And if you were also watching last week, you saw I made a flax. And to go with it, so I would say this and this together did not take much. I'm gonna go with, let's just go with one cake of the Comfy Cotton, because I can't remember offhand. I'm pretty sure it was a little less, but I'm just gonna say one cake just to be sure. And then I used the remainder of the 3 skeins that I had on this, which ended up working out quite well. So I am going to be sending these off before we go on our trip as soon as I have the right address to send them to. So that is fun. Let's talk for a little bit. So I have a 9-year-old. She's a big fan of plushies and all the little toys that are soft and you can squeeze, and she loves cats. So I was going through my yarn stash and I ran across this yarn that I had, and I couldn't figure out where I got it from. And see, it's falling apart. We're gonna talk about this yarn, don't worry. So this is Premier Yarns So Woolly. And I'm gonna try to wrap it back up because the cake is literally falling apart. This is what the yarn looks like. And it might not be coming up very well on camera, but this is a very, very lightly plied yarn. It's almost like using roving. Roving with just a teeny tiny bit of twist. So this is called So Woolly from Premier, and it is 94 yards and 200 grams. It's acrylic and wool. And I ran across this because I have 3 of these, and I'm like, what in the world am I gonna do with 3 of these? Because they must have came from a little bit ago. Premier Yarns did a mystery. They did a mystery like a mystery bag, and I am a horrible sucker for mystery bags, and this is what I got from it. So I made this. And this is probably not the best. Okay, so first of all, this is crocheted. This is an amigurumi. This pattern is called Bubble Cat. Now, this is probably not the best use case for this yarn. I am not sure what would be the best use case for this yarn. Because like I said, it's almost like roving. I am such a not gentle person with my hand knits that like if I made like a cowl or a hat, I would, toss it on my dresser, and I'm pretty sure it might pill, and it would at least pill just from sitting on my dresser. So I have no clue what I'm gonna do with the rest of this yarn. Anyways, so in my not so brightest idea, I decided, hey, let's make my 9-year-old an amigurumi. And not only is it adorable, but she absolutely loves it, and I had to basically fight, okay, that's the wrong words. I had to ask her very nicely. I said, kiddo, can I please show your little cat on my podcast? And she gave it to me for the morning, but I am under strict instructions to take very good care of her. So this pattern was awesome. I got it off of Etsy, and this is in fact one of my favorite types of amigurumis. So let's talk about what we had to do for this to create this little cat. Okay, so the first thing we did was make 4 little legs, which are pretty much circles. I mean, let's just face it. That's why it's called a bubble cat, right? Its appendages are just little bubbles. Then I made 2 ears, and then I made this tail. Okay, so you start making basically a big circle for the cat. And as you're working the circle, you crochet together the ears and the legs. So you go through the legs into the body so that you close the legs up and attach the legs to the body, and the same with the ears, which is awesome because it basically makes the pattern no-sew. So I will be making more of these in the future. I will not be using this yarn to make them. I'm still lost at what to do with this. It's super soft. It's super soft yarn. And there's nothing wrong with the yarn, but like I said, I will leave hats on my dresser, or my kids will wear them. My daughter will take a cowl that I make, and it's not gonna hold up for her. So that is to be determined what I'm doing for that. But like I said, I really did like this, and if I haven't yet, I will put down the pattern name and who designed the pattern. Like I said, I had found it on Etsy. So it's always nice to find a super simple amigurumi plushie that I'm pretty sure that probably only took 2 hours at most, which is great. Because I've made some amigurumis before that have like 8,000 teeny tiny little pieces, and at the end of assembling it, I'm kind of like trying not to pull my hair out, and then you're basically, at least for me, when I'm putting on, say, a face of an amigurumi, I'm never satisfied with how it looks, right? Like the ears are crooked, or the eyes aren't right. Something with how I've assembled it just doesn't make me happy. But for something like this is super, super easy. It, like I said, bubble cat, right? So it's a circle. And just by virtue of being a circle, it's cute. So I was happy about that. Okay, so now let's get into the sweaters that I've been working on. And because like I said, I've been I've been working quite a bit on especially this one. Now, if you aren't familiar with this pattern, this is I'm pretty sure this is still on the Ravelry Hot Right Now patterns. This is called the Kylie Pullover. And I will put the pattern information and the person who wrote the pattern down below. But this is what I have so far. Now, last night I worked this neckline and I also worked the bottom hem. Let me see if I can show you. So the pattern had two options. One of them was standard ribbing and one of them was this knit a couple of rows, purl a row, knit another row, and then bind off. So it creates like a rolled edge almost, but in the pattern photos, it didn't look too rolled. It was more like up here for the neckline. You can see that it rolls, but it's not too bad, as opposed to down here where it's rolling quite a bit. As you can see, I have two yarn strands that are not woven in yet, and that is because I'm not sure if I'm keeping either the neckline or the hem. So what's going to happen is this. I am going to be blocking this sweater. And we're going to see what happens with this hem down here. Is it going to lay flat? Is it going to stay how it is? We're just going to basically do an in progress block to see how things are. After the block, I am going to be putting the sweater away, and I'll tell you why in a second. But what I will be doing after I get it back out is working both of the sleeves. Now, the pattern, the Kylie Pullover, which I don't even know if I told you the pattern name yet, so I'm sorry if I haven't. This is the Kylie Pullover, and the pattern for this has a couple of different sleeve options, and one of them is long sleeves and the sleeves kind of bell out, and I'm like, okay, that's the one I'm doing because it looks so pretty. So after I bring this back out of hiatus, I am going to be working the sleeves, and then I'll make the final decision on the hem and the neckline. Like I said, the option that I went with is so simple. It's like 4 or 5 rows of knitting. So I can just pull it right out and put actual standard ribbing on there if I end up not liking it. But other than that, I really do like this pattern. I think it's very pretty. I followed the instructions on the pattern exactly for when to go into the hem, which is pretty rare for me. But okay, so let me give you some context for this, because if you're new here, you don't know. I am very short. I am 4'8", so every pattern that I make is pretty modified in different ways. Not only am I 4'8", but I am a paraplegic, so I use a wheelchair full time, and it also helps tremendously with transfers if I size the length of my garment to make it easier as I'm transferring from, say, the couch to a wheelchair or just a normal chair back and forth. So normally I do not follow the length guidelines for sweaters, but this sweater, the Kylie Pullover, is supposed to be cropped, which doesn't necessarily make it cropped on me, but kind of works out for my benefit. So, okay, now let me explain a couple of things about why this is actually going away for a couple of weeks. I signed up for a test knit. I don't normally sign up for test knits. I believe there's probably like 2 or 3 I've ever signed up for. This is the first one that I've actually ever gotten in, and I'm very excited about it. The reason I don't sign up for test knits is because I am one of those type A type people. So if I agree to a commitment, I've got to do it. So rain or shine, I have to get the test knit done, or I will just feel terrible about it. So that is why I need to put this away just for a little bit. The test knit, and you're going to hear all about it next week. The test knit is a pullover. It is knit with DK weight yarn. And unfortunately for me, DK weight yarn is like the one weight yarn I don't have a lot of. So my choices in yarn were going to be kind of like a really darkish gray or a cream. And the cream wouldn't have been so bad, but I have that cream yarn kind of earmarked to go towards making a granny square blanket, so I don't want to use it because not only is it earmarked for that, but it's also discontinued. Okay, and the gray yarn, the darker gray yarn, would have been fine, but it's a textured pullover, and I want to make sure that I can properly show the stitch pattern, which is basket weave. Okay, so when I saw this pullover, the first thing I gauge whenever I see a test knit is, hey, would I make this if it wasn't a test knit? And the answer to this is yes. It is so pretty. It's an all over basket weave pullover, and my yarn is supposed to be here on Tuesday, but I've got my fingers crossed that the postal service will get it to me on Monday, because it kind of looks like it's veering in that direction of being a day early. So if you could please keep your fingers crossed for me. I'm super excited to start it, and waiting is driving me crazy because, like I said, I'm all right. I'm ready and geared up to actually like cast it on. Well, not cast it on. First I'll do a swatch, and then I'll wash the swatch, and then I'll cast on the sweater once I get the sizing, the gauge swatch right. But the yarn that I picked, the colorway is called, I believe, magenta. Of course it is, right? So be on the lookout for that next week. I will tell you all about that as soon as it comes in the mail. Okay, so here I am to show you my other, sorry for the crinkling. Okay, so here I am to show you my other sweater work in progress. And this is the Flax Light. And this is a Flax Light for myself. Now, last week I went through, and I'm showing it to you backwards. I went through and I picked up the ribbing on the neck. And I've also worked quite a bit on the body. And I can't wait until it's done. This yarn. Okay, first of all, this pattern is the Flax Sock, and if I called it Flax Light, I'm sorry. It's the Flax Sock, and it's by Tin Can Knits. And generally nowadays, whenever I'm doing a Tin Can Knits pattern, I will use their app. If you haven't heard of it, I would check it out. It makes it super easy to knit any of their patterns that are featured on the app, because you input your size, the yarn you're using, and they'll give you all of the numbers without having to go through and kind of circle the one you're working on. It makes it so much easier. Now, this flax sock is my first flax, and it's my personally, it's my first flax. That doesn't sound right. I've knit many flaxes before. This is the first one that I've made myself. There, that sounds better. But this yarn is from Blackbird Sycamore yarn, and it is called Blackfire Opal. And I think it's an amazing colorway. Let me see if I can show it up close. There's nothing about this colorway that doesn't make me happy. It is perfect for June, for Pride Month here in the US, and I love it. Like, whenever I buy yarn for a sweater for myself, I always get an extra skein just because I want to make sure that I have enough. You probably do that too. Just, to make sure that you have a buffer. However, my daughter saw this colorway and she's like, I want one of those too. So I think that if my buffer is enough to make her at least a short sleeved tee, I will, because that way we can have sort of matching sweaters, and I think that would be good. But this pattern is great. This yarn is amazing. This is knit with fingering weight yarn, and surely I've told you that by now, because if not, I wouldn't be a very good yarn enthusiast, would I? Okay, so that is, unlike the Kylie Pullover, I won't be putting this into hiatus, mostly because I know that I can work on 2 sweaters and still get them done with relative consistency. So I won't put this one in hiatus. It's a different weight yarn, and the basket weave pullover test knit is DK. So no matter what, that will go faster than this. Plus, for my vacation, I think I'm gonna take this, but that's still to be determined. I still have like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's coming up, but I still have a little bit, so I won't be thinking about vacation knits for a while. Okay, so let me grab my piece of paper here. Sorry for the crinkling, but I wrote down a list of patterns that I wanted to talk about that I saw on Ravelry this week that I thought were really pretty. Okay, so the first one that I ran across was called the Garden Cardigan, and it is by Ankh Strict. I'm certain that I'm pronouncing that the wrong way. So as usual, pattern name and the author goes down below. Now, this was such a pretty cardigan, and I would really like to make it. It is knit in DK weight yarn, and the pattern price is $6 or dollars. Geez, I'm getting tongue-tied. It's going to be one of those mornings. Okay, the pattern price is €6.90. So I think that's like closer to $8 in the US, but I'm not certain. So if I remember, I'll put down currency conversion and whatnot down below. And I should be showing pictures of the cardigan right now. Now, after I finish my Flax Sock pullover, I am going to be working on the Voyage cardigan. Have you guys seen this one? If you're a returning viewer, I've shown you pictures of it before. It is an all-over colorwork cardigan from Wool and Pine, and it is so pretty. I love all of the different uses of colors, and it's going to be one of my main goals for this year. So I am going to work on the Voyage cardigan with, I have like a cream, I'm trying to think of if that's the right way to describe it, like a light colored neutral, and I have a bunch of pink minis of every different tone. So I was watching Andy the Knitress's podcast, and if you haven't saw her, you should go check her out. And she's working on the Voyage cardigan right now. And what she did was she lined up all of her minis and she took pictures of them, and then she changed the picture to black and white so she could kind of separate them into 4 different contrast bags, and then she just randomly picks from the bags. So I am going to do that too. When I saw her explain that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is genius, because that's not something I ever would have come up with on my own. So I'm very thankful that I watched her episode and she went through her thought process with picking her colors for the cardigan, and hers is coming out looking beautiful. So it makes me really excited to want to start mine. Okay, all that to say that even though the garden cardigan is beautiful and I really want to cast it on, the next cardigan that I'm going to be casting on is going to be the Voyage. So the next pattern that I saw on Ravelry was called the Midnight Shrug. And this is from a designer called Alice Tang. And the pattern price on it is free, which was really nice. It is a shrug, but it's not really. It is really. It's a longer shrug. So it goes down pretty low, but it kind of, if you saw my Hito Fude, it's kind of like that. It goes down pretty far, but you're seeing pictures, so the pictures are explaining what I cannot explain a lot better. Okay, it's knit in Aran weight yarn. And the cool thing I noticed about this pattern is that it's knit from cuff to cuff in one piece. So my thoughts were, you could use a lot of different fun yarns for this. You could use gradients, you could use variegated yarns, and because it's knit cuff to cuff and it's kind of seamless, you could even do like a self-striping sock yarn and you'd end up with vertical stripes like this. It would be pretty cool. By the way, I did not mention anything about what I was wearing. I am a mess this morning. It is not 9 anymore. It is 10:30 almost. And my son has an end of school year party to go to in a couple of hours, and my mind is all scattered on all the things I need to do, and it is what it is, right? Real life here. So anyway, what I'm wearing is the Bright Axis, and it is by Stephanie Lotvin, and I actually machine knit this. I machine knit it following the hand knit pattern instructions, and it worked out very well. This is a great pattern to machine knit because it has this whole body that's just stockinette. So once you get up here, you use a self-striping yarn, and you had to modify the pattern a teeny tiny bit for machine knitting, but if you've ever if you're like no, I would say a beginner could probably machine knit this, because I am a machine knit beginner and I machine knit it. So a very adventurous beginner, because I love this top. Do you know I have 2 of these and I machine knit both of them? I should probably hand knit this one time, but the reason I haven't is because of the body. I'm gonna get, which sounds silly, right? I do miles and miles of stockinette all the time and it doesn't bother me, but just for some reason I've always seen this tee as more of a machine knit garment. Anyways, back to the patterns, because I'm getting way too off topic here. So I actually bought this pattern because I have some of, I don't see it, hang on. Okay, no, I don't see it. It's probably on my dresser. So if you've watched the last couple of episodes, I just made castaways. I think I was wearing it last episode, possibly, or the episode before that. By the way, happy episode, I think this is 41. Okay, so the yarn that I use to make castaways, I have extra of, and it is silk and merino. Now, I asked my son if he liked the colorway, and he said yeah, but I'm not sure how confident I am in his answer. So the 2 skeins that I have left are either going to become a flax for him or a summer in a box for me. Now, the summer in a box pattern is by Ulina Murak. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. I apologize. The info is down below. This is actually knit in DK weight yarn, but because I can kind of just pick a larger size to knit in fingering weight and have it work out okay, I still liked the idea of using this pattern. This is kind of an oversized boxy tee, and it has lace up here. I'm putting a picture up here, and it is 650 pounds, not 650, 6.50 pounds. So $7-ish translated down or converted down below. And I like the idea of doing that top. Maybe, I don't know when I'm gonna fit it in though. So I do have it. It might be a next year thing. It might not. We'll see. We'll see how everything goes with the voyage, because I'm thinking that that's going to take up a lot of my time going forward, because it's such an it's all over color work, right? So it's involved. Plus, I'm not the best at color work. That's one of my goals for this year. So hopefully while working on the voyage cardigan, I get better at said color work. The final pattern that I have to show you, and I have no clue where I ran across this and where it jumped out at me, but whenever I saw it, I put it in my library. It is called Opera by Elise Designs, and the pattern is free. It is knit in DK weight yarn, and the reason I like this is because it's kind of an oversized pullover, and it's got stripes, like all sorts. There's all different ways you can do the stripes, and I've been thinking about making like an asymmetrical striped pullover for a while, and I think that this might be a good kind of base to look at the pattern and determine how I'm going to do it. I don't know if I'll follow the pattern, but I do love the sample knit colors, and I thought it was just worth a mention. So I hope that the patterns that I've mentioned, at least you see one of them that you think, hey, I haven't seen that before. Thank you for mentioning it. So, okay. Now, I am all done showing you all of the knitting that I have this week. As promised, I am going to go through some prize packs that I put together for a 100 subscriber giveaway. So this week was pretty cool. I got a shout out on Mouses Makes podcast, which made my heart super happy. I have loved her podcast for I don't know how long now, but for a very long time. And she is a yarn dyer, and her yarn is beautiful. Right now she has gradient kits out, and I want all of them. And if you know me, I'm trying not to buy a ton of yarn. I'm not always winning, but I'm trying. So seeing all of the pretty yarn all of the time, what can I say? I try. Anyways, so she gave me a shout out, and so I put together two prize packs for the 100 subscriber giveaway. So the first one, let's go over the rules first. So if you could, please be a subscriber to this podcast. I would really appreciate it. So I am going to tell you guys to leave a comment below about knitting. And it can be anything you want, as long as it has the keyword knitting in it. So I'm going to tell you which keyword goes to which bag. And the only reason this is important is because if you are the first name that I draw, you're going to get your choice of the bag. The second name will just get the other bag, because obviously if you guys both pick the same bag, I can't. So in order to be fair, the first person who gets drawn gets their choice of bag. So another thing is, I will not reach out to you in the comments. I'm not going to do it. This will be the only video where I do not respond to your comment. The reason that I'm doing that is because I don't want to mess up the random comment picker. So don't think I'm mean. I really appreciate and I read all of the comments. I generally always respond to them, but just not this time. Okay. So this is the first prize pack, and the keyword for this is going to be flowers. Now this is a Kelly McD bag, and she's the mom of Maddie from Jeez Oh Pete, I'm losing my mind. We Share Needles podcast. Like I said, my mind is on everything else. This bag is gorgeous. I love the pattern and I love the print, and see, it's blue inside and you've got these great little ties. So like I said, this is going to be the flower keyword. So if you like this one more, put flower down below. Now, I went through my yarn stash and picked out 3 skeins for each prize pack. This prize pack is more geared towards pinks. You'll see. Okay. So this is Rainbow and Sprinkles. The colorway is Stop Right Now. Pixie Dust Base, 4-ply, 100 grams, 400 meters, 75% merino, and 25% nylon. So this yarn is from a dyer, I believe, in Australia. And here we go. This is Yummy Sparkle. So we've got some sparkle in there. And it is 75, 15, 10 Superwash Merino Nylon and Stellina. You Make My Heart Flutter is the colorway name, and this is the Arkansas Sock Yarn Society. So we've got, I kind of tried to match the colorways. And the third one is Mouse Witch yarn. And I had to include some of Mandy's yarn. So it is, Mouse Witch yarn, hand-dyed by Poppy and Mouse. Superwash Merino, 75% nylon, 25%. 100 grams, 400 meters. And the color is Autumn 2023. So altogether, the yarns look like this. And I thought they looked really pretty in the bag. So I kind of tried to keep a theme, sort of. I tried. Like I said, the yarn comes from my stash. Everything is containerized in sealed and things. I have cats. The cats don't play in the yarn. They don't play around the yarn. They don't get in the yarn or anything, but I'm just letting you know I have cats. So I would never want to cause anybody any issues with sending them a bag that might have cat dander on it. Okay, so this is the second bag, prize pack, and this is a bag from Fancy Boy Designs. I love this bag. It's so pretty. This is a perfect bag for Pride Month, right? Look. I love the rainbows. Okay, so this is the first yarn. It's Woolly Mama Yarns, and the colorway is November 21st Club Frosted Cookies. And that kind of nails it, right? That so looks like frosted cookies. I'm trying to hide myself so it focuses on the yarn. This is so pretty. Okay, this is another Mouse Witch yarn, and it's Year of Yarn for April. And I think those match pretty well. At least for the same kind of color theme. And this is an Arkansas Yarn Company yarn. Ooh. And it is Yummy Plush. So 85-15 Superwash Merino. Arkansas Yarn Company, and it's called Let's Give Them Something to Talk About. So these are the three yarns together. I know I am doing a very poor job of showing them all because it's awkward to hold all three at once, but that is what I have. And they all come in this awesome bag. So the keyword for this will be cats. So you can either say that you like the flower or cats more. Or if you just don't care, if the other winner does care, I'll give them their choice instead. But one thing that I did not mention is that this contest, sorry, I don't want to trigger creepy bots making creepy comments down below. So I'm trying to use my words carefully. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention is that these packs are open to anyone in the world. So if you live in Australia, feel free to enter. And after I draw your name, reach out to me on Instagram or Ravelry, Mandy Von Knits, and give me your address, and I will send my wonderful, awesome husband to the post office to mail them. And then I will shoot you back a message with the tracking number, so that way you have it. That's pretty much it. That is it for the knitting stuff. So good luck to everybody. Like I said, please be a subscriber of the podcast and just leave a comment below with the main keyword that I'm going to use to draw of knitting. Just talk about any knitting thing that you want. Make sure to mention the pack preference if you have a preference. Let's see. Yeah, that's the end of the knitting talk, the end of the crochet talk. I talked for quite a bit today, so I hope you're not sick of me. My cat is trying to open the door to come inside the bedroom, so she's like, hurry up. So anyways, if you're leaving now, thank you so much for watching. If you could, please give this video a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button if you haven't. If you're hanging around to hear me talk for like 5 minutes about life stuff, then let's talk about life stuff. So I went to the doctor on Friday, and it was just a general doctor visit. It wasn't with like my neurosurgeon or anything. And I laid down on the waiting room exam table for an hour, waiting for the doctor to come in. And I feel so bad for her because she's so overbooked. I can hear her like going in and out of rooms like every 5 minutes. And my goodness, the cat is so impatient. I try to keep, so we have 3 cats, and I try to keep the younger one out while I'm recording because I have 2 18-year-old cats, and they're very persnickety, and the younger one wants to play and like hop around them, and they're not big fans of it. So rather than have you guys listen to like grumpy cats, sometimes they just lay around, but like if the 3-year-old is wanting to play, sometimes they'll kind of hiss at her to get her to go away. Anyways, what was I talking about? Okay, so I was at the doctor and I'm listening to this poor lady go in and out of rooms like every 5 minutes trying to see and meet with like 10 different patients, and I'm sitting there laying on my back and it's very painful. And they had wanted me to lay down for the doctor. So I have if you're new here, I have a spinal fluid leak that has been pooling underneath my skin. And when you lay down flat, it's kind of, it's not that big anymore. It's gone down a lot, but it's not very comfortable laying on your back. It's almost like laying on a teeny tiny water balloon. Anyways, it was a very long doctor's appointment. That's what I'm trying to say. But luckily, I don't have to go back for a whole year. I think my next appointment is June 6, 2025, which is very good because there's always a huge wait there. And next Tuesday, I have a neurosurgery appointment. Neurosurgeon. a neurosurgery appointment. Words are hard this morning. And we're going to go over what they're going to actually have to do to kind of close this up, because it's driving me crazy. Last night, I had a whole bunch of pain coming from that area, and the fluid had gotten really hard to the touch. And I'm imagining, because it's gone down now, that like for some reason a bunch of extra fluid had gone into that pocket, and now it's gone. But for about 5 hours yesterday, I was in immense pain. So they have to do something about that. It can't stay like this. For my kiddos, they are super excited because Friday was the last day of school. And I'm kind of forlorn about it. My son is going into the 8th grade next year, and he is going on a class trip to New York, which is going to be an amazing, incredible experience for him. They're even going to go see a Broadway show. Like, how cool is that? I just keep thinking I would love to be able to go. I would totally chaperone if I could, but being a wheelchair user makes it a lot of things that I really want to do a big pain in the butt. So, especially if it involves airplanes. We won't even talk about airplanes and being in a wheelchair, because I just, no. Okay, so my daughter is excited for summer camp, and we are going on vacation to, we're kind of changing it up. We're going for basically an entire week, and it has been probably since my daughter was 16 months old. It has been that long since we've gone on any type of vacation that's lasted longer than maybe 3 days, 3 or 4 days. So we're definitely looking forward to it. I have already scouted out, because we're going to a new place. I have already scouted out like a yarn shop or two that I want to go to. I will only go to one, but what I need to do is kind of get like a list and then just narrow it down to which one I'm going to. Because you can't go somewhere new without visiting a yarn shop. At least that's kind of what I keep telling myself, whether or not it's actually true. It is what it is. I'm obviously not going to be buying a ton of yarn, but like maybe 1 or 2 skeins. Who knows? It might be another 8 years until we go on another vacation this long again. So other than that, like, everything has been going okay. And that's pretty much all I can ask for at this time. The cat is meowing outside, so I am going to end this a little bit early. I won't talk about books or what I've been watching this week, only because I'll just save it till next week. I don't want to make the poor cat wait outside any longer. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to enter the... How can I word that without like using these triggering keywords? Don't forget to enter the comments down below. You should know what I mean, right? Remember this. Don't forget that. Keyword knitting, and then your preference of either cat or flower. And like I said, anyone from anywhere in the world can enter. Okay, thanks guys. I hope that you have an awesome week, and I hope that June is going awesome for you. Don't forget to tune in next week, and I'll be drawing the winners. Thank you. Bye.